The human brain is a network of approximately 100 billion neurons. Different experiences create different neural connections which bring about different emotions. And depending on which neurons get stimulated, certain connections become stronger and more efficient, while others may become weaker. This is what's called neuroplasticity. Someone who trains to be a musician will create stronger neural connections that link the two hemispheres of the brain in order to be musically creative. Virtually any sort of talent or skill can be created through training. Rudiger Gamm, who was a self-admitted hopeless student, used to fail at basic math and went on to train his abilities and became a famous human calculator, capable of performing extremely complex mathematics. Rationality and emotional resilience work the same way. These are neural connections that can be strengthened. Whatever you are doing at any time, you are physically modifying your brain to become better at it. Since this is such a foundational mechanism of the brain, being self-aware can greatly enrich our life experience.
There's a disconnect between humans, between how we're functioning, between how we fit in the world, between our impact in the world, etc. And as soon as we do that, that's going to have a consequence, because your mind is moving through your brain. Your brain builds that perception physically into your brain. So you're thinking, feeling, choosing, moment by moment of every day. And if I take a scenario where I'm constantly seeing a negative thing, you talked about your guy who can't see beyond this, whatever the situation. So if I have now for more than 63 days constantly thought in a certain way, I have built a very strong tree in my brain. That's why I've got trees here. A tree is a thought. Our thoughts are real things. They look like trees. They occupy mental real estate. They're made of proteins.
I agree there 100%.
They are total. Right now you are growing at the speed of 400 billion actions. You're converting my words, and so are the listeners, into trees in their brain. Hopefully they're building nice healthy trees about what we're saying. But now if you've got a habit, if you've done something for years, and you've thought in a way for years, because of an experience, because of environment, so there's nurture, you're born with this, as I've mentioned, this wired for love design. We in nurture, environment, and all the other stuff you described. Now there's the I factor, the two twins going through life, same thing, but how they're seeing it. So each experience is now adding more and more layers to my initial core. So here I am born, but here I am perceiving. I may perceive the two twins. One perceives a relationship in this way, one perceives a situation in this way. Two different networks build in the brain. And as you keep thinking in that certain way, so you strengthen.
Social psychology often looks at the basic human need to fit in and calls this the normative social influence. When we grow up, our moral and ethical compass is almost entirely forged by our environment, so our actions are often a result of the validation we get from society. But new developments in neuroscience are giving us a better understanding of culture and identity. Recent neurological research has confirmed the existence of empathetic mirror neurons. When we experience an emotion or perform an action, specific neurons fire, but when we observe someone else performing this action, or when we imagine it, many of the same neurons will fire again, as if we were performing the action ourselves. These empathy neurons connect us to other people, allowing us to feel what others feel. And since these neurons respond to our imagination, we can experience emotional feedback from them as if it came from someone else. This system is what allows us to self-reflect.
And that's the mind, that's the I factor, that's the part that we have not done enough research on, and that I've spent 30 years myself researching. There are a few of us doing it, but we've got to focus on that, because otherwise I can use my brain as an excuse for everything, which is the day and age we live in. You can't make the relationship work. They've got ADHD, that's why they've got this, they've got that, that's why. No, that's not why. Those are effects. This is I've got a great image here. I don't know if you want to have a look at this. Sure. This is a very powerful image. What we're going to see here is a real human brain. This is a real life person linked up to very advanced brain technology. And that firing that you see over there is thinking, feeling, choosing. If you were dead, there'd be no firing in the brain. So what we're seeing is energy moving through the brain that is being picked up by very complex technology that is showing the brain responding to an alive person who's thinking, feeling, choosing.
So this is in a conversation, or this is just steady?
That's all the time. It's constant.
Got it.
So your brain looks like that now, but your firing would be different to mine, different to every single viewer. So everyone has their own unique way that the brain actually fires up. So there's a uniqueness. Your brain is designed to match you. It responds to you, and you drive that. So if I'm constantly negative, I drive a negative quantum energy through the brain, which will then still cause an electrochemical, an electromagnetic and genetic reaction, but it's going to be distorted. And that means that I'm going to make something that's all distorted. Or I'm going to do a healthy thought, or whatever you want to call it, and I'm going to then change what it looks like. And that's why I've got green trees and toxic trees. So if you look at this next slide, this really makes it clear. These are neurons. Okay, and you see them moving. So it's kind of the same. It's also in the brain. If you were dead, there'd be no movement. And what you're seeing there is things growing. That's what's happening in your brain at speeds that are very, very fast. You're growing little branches. Those branches.
So it's growing and it's building constantly.
You're building now. You're
non-stop.
doing that non-stop.
What causes it to develop
Your
and build?
thinking, feeling, and choosing. Because if you're dead, it doesn't happen.
So let me ask you, does this mean the more I'm learning and reading, is it building more?
More, all the time. You're doing it all day long.
Is there a way to measure 3 brains of one developing versus one not?
Yeah, we can see that. We can see a response. Your brain, the brain.
You see it like
I work with scientists. I'm doing my own research now. We see that you see brain thickening. You see changes.
That's fascinating right there, because
you actually see. I've got another slide over here. Okay, we've got another slide. Okay, we have to pause this, edit this thing. There's another slide that shows inside the actual brain. I don't have it over here, but you can actually see what you're asking me. Let me see if it's over here. Here we go. Okay, this is fascinating.
Yeah, that's intense to me.
Yeah, it is intense, and this is what people don't realize, but you're doing that, you drive that.
You know what that means? That means when you're thinking, you're reading, learning more, your brain is building and growing more muscles.
It's growing, it's growing branches, it's growing computers. And those computers, so this is inside your brain. You've got infinite space in your brain. You're designed to think, you're supposed to grow your brain. One of the biggest aspects of mental health that is the most undealt with aspect of mental health that I've been fighting for 30 years to get out into people's minds and understanding, and that I do with my research, is building your brain with your mind. If you don't build your brain, if you're not learning new stuff, if you're not really using your brain every day, it's like not cleaning your house or not cleaning your teeth or not washing your body.
إن أعجبك الفيديو لا تنسى الإعجاب والاشتراك في القناة.